Hello, Internet. Today is Wednesday, October 21st, 2015. And today is a very, very special day because today is Back to the Future Day. Now, if you don't know why today's Back to the Future Day, it's because today is the date in Back to the Future 2 when Doc Brown and Marty McFly go into the future and they landed today. In the other two Back to the Future movies, they go to the past. In Back to the Future 2, they go to the future. And today is the day. So there's been a ton written right now about Back to the Future 2, the Back to the Future movies. They're all over the internet. And that got me thinking about other 80s movies that I love. So in today's Hot Button Hashtags video, I'm giving you my top 10 1980s movies. Now let me start by saying this, a little bit of an asterisk at the beginning. The 1980s, my favorite movie decade. I know that's a huge statement, but it absolutely is. And I'm aware that that could be because that's when I was raised. I was born in 1980, so these are the movies that I recorded off of TV, right? These are the movies that I watched all of the time growing up. So these are my 10 favorite movies, and this is in no particular order. Also, I know there are a ton of movies that I have left out. A ton of great, amazing, classic movies. You just can't fit them all in a list. So here are my top 10. The first movie released in 1989, my all-time favorite Christmas movie, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. You guys, I love this movie. Every Christmas, it is a tradition to watch it. One of the most quoted movies by this guy. I absolutely love it. If you do not like that movie, I have no response to you. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, easily in my top 10. The next is from 1985, set just down the road in Oregon, Goonies. You guys, there are not many more classic 80s movies than the Goonies, right? Like, we were all treasure hunters once we saw the Goonies. We all thought for sure we were gonna find a map, we were gonna discover treasure with our best friends, we were gonna meet some weird Hunchback of Notre Dame kind of guy who would be really kind of creepy, right? Like, this was what we grew up with. Goonies has to be in the top 10. The next movie from 1988 featuring Tom Hanks, come on, it's Big. How amazing was Big? One of the movies I watched the most in the 80s and early 90s for sure. Who didn't want to discover one of those, was it Zoltar? The fortune teller guy machine, right? Like, we were all looking for the Zoltar machines. The keyboard scene, still classic in FAO Schwarz and Times Squares, like there's multiple ones of them, that's stupid. Anyway, Big, definitely on my list. Another movie from 1988 and another amazing Christmas movie, a great holiday movie, Die Hard. Now, Die Hard has got to be considered a Christmas movie. Think about it. Think about when it happens. It is a holiday staple for me, for sure. Love Die Hard. Favorite Bruce Willis movie of all time. I love all of the Die Hards. Like, every single one of them. I own all of them. Even the more recent ones. They're ridiculous and absurd, and I love them. Next on the list from 1986, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, right? Like, when you list classic 80s movies, Ferris Bueller is always in the top 2 or 3. It is such an amazing movie. I mean, who didn't dream about being able to do that? Being able to pull off this epic day out with friends while you call in sick to school and you're excused and your principal hates you. It was the perfect 80s movies for anyone in school during the 80s. Absolutely loved it. The next movie on my list from 1988, Tom Cruise, Dustin Hoffman, classic Rain Man. One of my all-time favorite movies. I think it's one of the best movies ever. I could watch this movie 100 times, never get bored of it. Also, Judge Wapner has got to credit this movie for some of his lasting success, right? Like, I forget Judge Wapner even existed until I watch Rain Man again. So Rain Man has to be on that list. The next movie also I put in that classic level, just right, like right there, right next to Rain Man, Dead Poets Society. My all-time favorite Robin Williams movie, R.I.P. It's not his like usual slapstick kind of, you know, lighthearted comedy, but it is such a deep movie, such a heavy movie, such just a perfect movie. That has, I don't know how you can do a top 10 in the 80s and not include Rain Man and Dead Poets Society, or at least one of those two. From 1987, my favorite Thanksgiving holiday movie, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. You guys, come on. John Candy, Steve Martin. That movie is unbelievably funny. Like the pillow scene, the rental car scene in the airport, those are, I have seen them 100 times and I die laughing every time I see them. In fact, one of the things I love most about Thanksgiving is that it gives me a reason to watch that movie a lot. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles has to be top 10. The next on my list, okay, it's 3 movies, but they all came out in the 80s, so I'm only counting them for one. It's the Indiana Jones trilogy, right? Like, these are unbelievable movies. Now, I need to address something here. I do not have any of the Star Wars movies on this list. The first Star Wars movie came out in the late 70s, so I kind of counted that franchise in the 70s, even though 2 of the movies came out in the 80s. But when you think about Star Wars, when you think about Indiana Jones, did anybody have a better 1980s than Harrison Ford? And that's an honest question. Like, if you can think of somebody who had a better 1980s than Harrison Ford, like, put that in the comments below, because I cannot think of anybody. I mean, those are 2 of the iconic franchises of all time, and there he is as a leading man in both of them. I gotta say, from Indiana Jones, my favorite Indiana Jones movie of all of them is definitely number 3, The Last Crusade. I don't know why, I've always loved that one the most. I like the other 2 as well, but Last Crusade, by far my favorite. And the last on my top 10 list, this one came out in 1989, Kevin Costner, Field of Dreams. Like, I played sports growing up, that's great, growing up, and this movie is this, like, that iconic sports movie, right? If you build it, they will come. He plows under his farm to build this baseball field. His wife thinks he's crazy, and it leads to this iconic, oh my gosh, that movie is amazing. So again, my top 10, in no particular order: National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, Goonies, Big, Die Hard, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Rain Man, Dead Poets Society, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, the Indiana Jones franchise, come on, cut me some slack, and then Field of Dreams. Now, you may disagree with, like, the top 10, but I think you have to agree. All 10 of those, there's a great argument to be made for that. Now, I have 2 honorable mentions from the 1980s. I could have 100, but here's my 2. Number 1, Roadhouse. You guys, I took a job because of the movie Roadhouse. This is no joke. I love Roadhouse. That movie is amazing. I don't know if you're a dude, I don't know how you don't like Roadhouse. And I thought, oh my gosh, how amazing to be a bouncer. I actually was a bouncer at a bar here in town because of how much I loved that movie. Like, that's why I took the job. So I think any movie that makes you take a job deserves to be on a list. The next honorable mention, my wife talked me into this, putting this on here. Here's what I'll say. My favorite rom-com of the 80s, for sure. This would be in her top 10, When Harry Met Sally. I think it's probably the perfect romantic comedy movie. We can sit down and watch it together. Love that movie, and I realized I didn't really have any rom-coms on there, so out of submission to my wife, When Harry Met Sally. That's my top 10. 2 honorable mentions. Tell me in the comments below. 1, did anybody have a better 1980s than Harrison Ford? Because I cannot think of it. Number 2, what movies did I leave off my list that you would have included? I would love to hear some of those movies. Read about them in the comments below. Happy Back to the Future Day. I hope you take some time this week to watch some classic movies. I am definitely planning on it. I'm not sure what yet, but probably something off of my list. Thanks for watching. Thumbs up this video if you love 80s movies as much as this guy does. Subscribe to our channel if you have not, and we will see you guys on Friday.